every religion, philosophy, culture, or any other sort of grouping that governs like a mass's behaviors and attitudes, has like a specific sect or at least an opinion on sex and sexuality, whether it be to deem what and when to do it, to make it right, how to make it right, or what justifies it, what impurifies it. Everyone seems to have, regardless of what system or of thought they come from, there is some kind of sort of mechanism and explanation to it, basically. And it's dictating and it's controlling and it's defining, basically. It's defining sex. And society, in the most contemporary sense, literally does have a full-on obsession with the concept. Think of all these kind of medias you get, from books to TV to movies. Almost everything you watch, with minimal exceptions, either includes, incorporates, or insinuates towards actual depictions of sex, or innuendos, or sort of humorous jokes about it. So why is it so prominent? Why is this one thing just so bombarded and so heavily featured in literally everything? Usually the most used argument for it is sort of the essentiality of it, like every human is the product of it, and nearly every human, with a few exceptions, in the minimal percentage, have it at some point in their life. Basically everybody, it is a factor in everybody's life. But then you think, so is pissing, and we're not raving on about urinating all the time. No one makes a big deal of that. Eating, no one makes as much of a big deal as that. And then you think maybe it's the giving of life, but there are alternative ways that don't involve that. So again, that kind of voids that argument. And then you think maybe it's because it's a pleasurable activity, maybe the pleasure is what argues it. But then you think, if you look at the majority of these like guidelines given by certain facets or whatever it may be, the guidelines seem to be diminishing the facilities and parts and aspects that would increase the pleasurability of the act. So it's not, you can't say that. So when you've devoided the commonality between every human, the pleasure behind it, it's a sensuality to an extent, not completely, then why? It's weird because every animal engages in it. Every animal observed, apart from like the very molecular amoebas and shit, they all engage in it. Yet there's only 2-3 different species of animals that engage in it in the way humans do, which I think are dolphins and one other. I can't exactly remember the other one. So it just doesn't make sense why it's so prominent. And of course it's that argument that we never sort of get the end to, because you make a point and you back up that point, and then you try and back up again and devoid that point. So what does it accomplish? What does this obsession? Is it just that we need it? It's natural and necessary, yes, but so are so many other things. So why is this the one thing we pick? And then why also, despite being such a heavily presented thing in every type of society, it is largely taboo. It is criticised, condemned, and dictated and policed, where it's only acceptable in certain ways and certain times, after marriage, or being procreative, or whatever it is, depending on what your religion or beliefs are, whatever your moral system is. And I think those two go hand in hand. The reason it is so prominent in society is because it is tabooed. It is, the shady topic. It is what we don't really discuss. And it's because society needs that topic that is the exact ultimate side of like both arguments of the needed and the condemned, the critical and the tabooed. Basically, we need our main asset that we as humans as a whole are going to preach in every different way. No matter what we preach, this is the one thing we keep as a singular and having everything. We need that to be there, be present, be something relevant to everyone, but also be the one thing that is governed completely, that is condemned. We need our obsession to be our most strictly taught thing, our most strictly controlled thing. Humans, especially in religion, but as I've said, in many other facets, even in just bare society, at government points and below, it becomes this sort of essence of control. If we can control what seems relevant to everyone, what seems the most prominent and primordial instinct of humans, and as the standpoint of basically being a being, basically, if we can control that, then there is very little you can't control. When you have, your hands around, dictating, condemning, controlling, contrasting, and just complete power over how it is preached, you lose nothing. When you have one asset that becomes the most essential and the most condemned, there's nothing you can't control. Yes, this is getting into a sort of dystopian type community control, Black Mirror type shit talk, but that's how the world is, in my view at least, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do agree, even if they don't really think about it much. But yes, the prominence of sexuality in society, in culture, in living, in being a human, in this type of human world, is basically due to the fact that it has to be, and there has to be one thing controlled and condemned to maintain human stance as it is. We need the authority above, whatever that may be, to restrict and allow an act as such to show, its leniency but also its control, basically. So that is why, in my opinion.